if you take programs by FTP, long-form programs, or if you take, say, the news by FTP, and you're sitting here going, do I need to buy an expensive piece of software to download these? Well, the answer is no. If you've got an old computer sitting around your office, studio, whatever, or even going down to, say, a used computer place, pick up one for cheap, and I'm going to show you how to do it. What you're going to want to do, first thing off the bat, is put Linux on it. Yeah, you can download Linux for free, and it's not as hard as you would think. So I'm using Ubuntu Linux for 24.04, I believe is the version that I'm using, and I downloaded the server version for free, put it on a USB stick, plugged it in, booted off of that, reformatted the drive, and now here we go. I have a computer labeled test. So I did this for work because I needed something to play around with Linux and not damage our production machines. So I figured let's experiment with this here and show you how you can download things for free. Well, things that you're authorized for free. So, okay. So you've downloaded Ubuntu Linux. You've installed it on the computer. And so you need to go grab a tool called FFmpeg. Again, that's free. And you would basically type in sudo apt install FFmpeg. And that'll download it, it'll install it, and you should be good for that part. Now, what we're going to do is it's in a few steps. First step is we have to download the files. So we are going to use a tool called Wget. And Wget is a free tool built in that you're going to be able to use to do this. So for grins, now just for clarification, I'm using a production FTP server, so I'm going to be blurring out credentials and things like that. So Wget, and we're going to use the flag FTP user, which is going to be blanked out here. And then we're going to do FTP password, which also is going to be blurred out. And then we need to do our server and then our path to the file. In this case, we're going to take a file called flex1.mp3. Let's see, what else do we need to do? We need to set it with the O flag, the capital O flag, which will basically tell it to overwrite the file every time it downloads it. This will be important later on. And we're going to call this flex1.mp3. Now, if I were to run this, boom, we've grabbed it. Okay, let us take a look real quick at our directory. Ignore the other three items that are in there. What's important is that top one, flex1.mp3. Great, we downloaded it. That's it, all done. And if you're happy with just downloading the file, not doing any audio processing on it at all, you're done. Have a nice day. You could schedule that as a cron tab. We'll get to cron tab here in a minute. Okay, but that's not all we want to do. Let's say that this file is louder than what we normally play on the station. So we need to find a way to process that audio, bring it down or bring it up, and create another output file. And for that, we're going to use a tool called FFmpeg. Now, FFmpeg, we're going to do FFmpeg I, which is going to be our input file, flex1.mp3. Oops. And we're going to use the -AF, which is audio filter. Now, I like to use something called loud norm. And loud norm will take the loudness of the file and raise it or lower it based on a standard. There's an international standard for how loudness is measured. So we're going to take this file and set it to that loudness. So if it's, well, some producers like to produce files that are slammed at digital 0. They think it's cool. They think it's awesome. No, guys, it's not. Okay? But some of them do that. So what we need to do is we need to take that file and pull it back. But we need to do it in a way that's somewhat automated, that we can kind of fire and forget. So we're going to use loudnorm. And loudnorm looks at the whole file, figures out what it is, and then sets it to be that loudness. So loudnorm, I have the capital I thing in here, the I indicator, variable, setting, whatever this is. I have the I, which means what is the level I'm going to set this at. In our case, I'm going to set it to -24. Then we're going to take our LRA, which is our loudness range, and that's how much dynamics there is in the file between the loudest parts and the quietest parts. If you set it to a lower number, like 1, you're going to get a file that is the same loudness no matter how quiet or how loud the file is. If you set it to something like 7, it's going to have a lot of dynamic range. And for this file, I know this file, I'm good with setting this to 7. I don't want to do a lot of processing on it. Then we're going to set our true peak to -3. And now you have peaks, which are your digital peaks, but sometimes when you transcode things, you will have some overshoots, just the way that things are encoded. Now, true peak is going to take those into account, and it's going to limit it according to that. So I'm going to set that to -3. And then let's see, the last thing that we need to do is we're going to set our output. For this one, we're going to set it to 48K, and we are going to make this flex1 proc dot wave. So I'm going to turn this into a wave because in our example here, our automation system likes to play waves. Most automation systems like to play waves. So we're going to fire this off. It's going to process, and all this is happening on this machine. I'm actually SSH'd into this machine. This is not happening on my Mac. All right, we're done. It is processed. So let's look at what we have. Hey, look, I have a flex1.mp3, and I have a flex1-proc.wave. So let's come over to my Mac here real quick. And let's do SCP at 168.0.8. And then we're going to go home. Audio flex1 proc.wave. Oops. I have to set the output. Now, putting in my password. All right, I've copied it over to my computer. And now let us, drag this. And there it is. There's my audio file. You'll notice that there's a little bit of things interesting here going on. And I think that's the original source file. This is a newscast that I'm using this experiment on. We have some space at the beginning, which is typical for these files. And I have no space at the end. Well, sometimes happens with these files. But, okay, cool. And it is set to the loudness that we told it to, which was -24. So we've got the file, we've processed the file. Now we've got to make this happen in an automated way. So we're going to open up VI, which is a text editor on Linux. And we're going to call this download news.sh because this is going to be a bash shell. And we're going to do bin sh. Now you see the hashtags, that's going to be a comment. There's lots of documentation out there on how to make bash shell scripts. And I'm not going to really go into that, but the important thing is comment your code so that way you know what you did. So we're going to do use, I'm just going to do this that way I know what I did, to download the flex1.mp3 file. Now I'm going to get rid of that hashtag at the beginning, the octothorpe, that's the technical term for it. Wget FTP user FTP password server and file. And remember our -o. We're going to save ourselves some headache here in the future. This is important. Make this a full path, because if you don't, it's going to bite you when you go to make this automated. Cool. All right. We have this line that's going to tell our script download the file. Now use FFmpeg to process the loudness on the file. FFmpeg -i. Remember again, we're using full paths because this will bite us in the future. MP3. Loud norm, I -24. LRA 7, true peak -3, 48K, flex 1 proc.wave. Whoops, what did I do wrong here? I didn't make it a full path. Okay, again, full paths are important in this example. Okay. So we have wget to get our file, and now we have FFmpeg to process the audio on the file. Download news.sh, boom. Now see, it says, do you want to overwrite? Because we already have that file. We forgot a flag. Let's go back into download the news. So at the end of our FFmpeg here, we want to put a -y. Why? That will basically say yes to any prompts that come up. In this case, do you want to overwrite this file? Yes. All right, let's run it again. See, I didn't get prompted to say yes. Very important, because as we move forward, we're going to need to do that. It's going to need to be able to run on its own when we automate it here. Okay, first part's done. Great. So let's go to Cron tab. Cron tab is our friend. As you can see, here, let's clean this up here. Cron tab. Cron tab is where you schedule tasks in Linux. And in this case, it's very important that we schedule this to happen at a certain time of day. So when do we want to do this? Let's say at the 15-minute mark of every hour, of every day of the month, of every month, of every day of the week. And our command is going to be download news.sh. Okay, right quit. Yeah, download news. So let's clear this up. Let's clean this up. In just a few moments, notice where that flex1.mp3 says 1412 right here. It says 1412, and flex1.proc is 1412. We're going to wait for this to turn to 15. And I'm going to fast forward through this, so let's speed this up. I wanted to take a moment and tell you about today's sponsor, and that is Broadcast Depot. Broadcast Depot provides full-service broadcast solutions, from evaluation and installation to lifelong support. Their professionals ensure easy understanding of equipment through comprehensive training. With expertise in tackling transmission challenges, they guarantee reliable performance. Broadcast Depot's support exceeds warranty durations, offering peace of mind and exceptional service every time. You can visit their website at 7bd.com or give them a call at 305-599-3100. Thank you again to Broadcast Depot for sponsoring today's video. Okay, here we go. It's going to run. It should be running right now. Let's give it a few seconds because, as you saw when we ran the script, it took it a few seconds. So now let's do another ls-l. And now our times on this, 14:15, 14:15. So it downloaded the file, it processed the file all on its own. And if you want, this is a good place to stop. Congratulations. You've just set your top of the hour news to be downloaded every hour at whatever time you want. Again, Cron tab -E, and you can change whatever time that you want it to run. Now, we want to know if we're actually downloading a different file every hour, or if you're downloading a long-form program that plays once a day every day. So how do we do that? We're going to write a fingerprint of the file into a log. So the command that we're going to use is md5 sum, and in this case we're going to use flex1.mp3. Helps if I type it right, flex1.mp3. So this long file string of letters and numbers, that is the fingerprint of flex1.mp3 that we just downloaded. That will change the next time we download the file. It will change the time after that, and the time after that, and the time after that. So we want to know for sure that we downloaded a new file, or we want to be able to go back and prove that we downloaded a new file. So let's open up our, here we are, let's open up our script here again. And we're going to insert, remember we're commenting on our code, run md5 sum to show that it's a new file. But we need to do something else first. So let's do get the date and time. So we need to set some variables. So we're going to set variable d to date plus y m, oops, d. Now what this is going to do is it's going to grab the current date of the computer, and it's going to put it into that variable d. We assigned it. We're going to assign variable t. Oops, it is also date. And we're going to do hour, minute, seconds. Excellent. So we've just done that. Now we're going to do one more variable. We're going to call this md5. And in this one, we're going to run md5 sum on home audio flex1.mp3. But we're also going to do -t, so that way it puts it out into a human readable format, into some text. Now, here's where the fun comes in for writing a log. Write this to a log called flex.log. How's that? All right, we're gonna do some more fun things here. Echo D. And I'm going to use comma separated values just so we can kind of make it into like a downloadable CSV if you want to. TMD5. We're going to write that to home, O'Rourke, audio, flex.log. Okay. So the little double arrows, which mean append to that file. We have everything here. Everything looks good. Okay, right quit. Let's make that file real quick. Flex.log. Cool, there's flex.log. Now let's run download news. LSHL. Okay, look, we have new files here. Let's open up that flex.log. Hey, look, we have date, time, the fingerprint, and the path that we ran it to. Excellent. And again, every time that this runs, it will do all those things. So if we ran download the news again, and then cat flex.log, hey, look, it's there. Now, look at this. This is what's important. This fingerprint is the same for both lines. And why is that? Because when the actual file itself doesn't get updated until like 45 after the hour, and right now it's 20 after the hour, 21 after the hour. So I'm downloading the same file. But we can pause on there and basically wait until the 45, run this again, and then we'll reconvene. But you know what? Let's do one more thing. I like having information, diagnostic information. So this is going to be another fun thing that we get to do here. I have my notes over here on my iPad, so we're going to look at the actual length of the file too. And that's just something, if for some reason the file came in short or long, we can again keep it in that log. And we're going to use FFprobe. And FFprobe-I flex1.mp3 show entries format duration. We're going to do it so it doesn't have the whole thingy on there. Okay, and now let's run it. It returns us some numbers in colon format, but that's hours. Right here, it's hours, minutes, seconds, and decimals of a second. Cool. Just for grins, let's add that to our log. Okay. So we're gonna do insert, get the duration of the file. FFprobe-I, remember again, full paths. Okay, show entries. We're going to run this in quiet mode. Okay. Now we have that in there. Oh, but you know what we wanted to do? We wanted to make this a variable, so that way we can write that into the file. So let's go back to the beginning of the line here. And let's call this len, which will be our length of the file. Let me get to the end so I can put in the closed parentheses. Closed parentheses. Okay. Now, let's run it. And now let's cat flex log. I did forget to actually use the variable. Let's try that one more time. Insert len. All right. Now let's run it again. And now let's cat the file. There it is. Appended at the end is our length of the file. Cool. That is really, really helpful. So now let's let this run a little bit and hear from our sponsors real quick. And we will be back in a little bit. All right. Hi, I'm going to take a moment here and recognize the sponsor of today's video, LinkUp Communications. When your content has to get to your audience, you can count on their content distribution using XDS and other industry-leading platforms. LinkUp has provided distribution solutions with the highest degree of reliability for over 3 decades. If you're wanting more information about their services or just who are they, visit their website at linkupcommunications.com. And now, back to the video. All right, welcome back. We've let this run. I've let this run for a couple of hours. And now you can see that I have 2 more entries in here, one at 1445 and one at 1545. And you can see that the fingerprints are different. So we know it's working. We know it's downloading a new file. It's processing a new file. Let's look. There's flex1.mp3 and flex1-proc.wave. Excellent. That is great news. Now let's go back and let the airplane fly over. And let's look at downloaded news. Okay. So what we're doing when we're processing is that we're just processing the file. But what happens if the file tends to have too long of a lead up on the front or too much silence at the end, too much silence at either end or in the middle or something like that? So let's make a copy of our file here, our script. We'll call it download news 2. Yeah, I'll do that. So let's go into it, download news 2.sh. Again, we have our wget, we have our date and time, we have our MD5 sum, we have our ffprobe, we have our echo writing it into the log, and then we have FFmpeg processing the file. Let's add something to this FFmpeg file processing. So we're going to do something called silence remove. And silence remove, I need to look at my notes over here, has some variables on it too. And so we're going to do silence remove. Start periods is 1. We want to start from the beginning. Start duration equals 0.5. Anything more than half a second of silence, we want that to be one of the triggers. Start threshold equals minus 90 dB. Our start threshold basically is telling us where is the silence threshold as far as levels. Anything that goes above minus 90 is going to be considered as audio and we'll reset our timer. In this case, for the file that we're going to be grabbing here shortly, the file has a little bit of silence at the beginning. The new file we're going to get also has some silence in the middle and may have some silence at the end. So we want to strip all that silence out because it just sounds cleaner when it's all gone. So there's our start threshold, stop periods, -1. We want it to go all the way through the file. Stop duration, again, ½ a second. Stop threshold. In this case, I'm going to set it to -30 dB. Yes, that's a lot higher than what we had it for the beginning, but for the beginning, we know it's going to be silent, that there's no audio in there at all. In the middle, for this file specifically, sometimes there's some clicks or whatever, moving around noise. So we want to make sure that those aren't considered silence, or those aren't considered noise. And so we want to strip all that out in the middle. Again, we're going to do AR 48K, and then here's our file, except for this one, we're going to call it Flex2. Okay, there's our Flex. Remember, we need to change this to Flex2. 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 Right, quit. Download news 2. Let's run it and see what happens. Okay, it ran. There's our flex2.mp3 and our flex2-proc.wave. Let's come back over here. We're going to change this to Flex2. Flex2. So I just downloaded it to my computer. You know what? Let's also grab MP3. Flex2.mp3. Okay, downloaded both of those. Let's open up both of these. So here's our Flex2. All right, this doesn't look bad for a source file. We do have some silence at the beginning, 0.6 of a second. We've got a little bit here in the middle, not much of a much, but we do have a good amount at the end. All right, so let's see what our processing did. Obviously, this doesn't look right. Hold on. I made a mistake. And you didn't catch me on it. You should say something. Okay, right here on my input file, I forgot to put that. All right, now let's run it again. Okay. And let's grab, oops, and that one. Flex2. All right, Flex2, here we go. Again, same things we're seeing. Now let's see what the processed one does. All right, so we stripped out that silence that was at the beginning. We stripped out the silence that was at the end, and the little bit of silence that was in the middle, I think it pretty much kept it because it was not much there to begin with. And you can definitely see that our audio level went down because we told it to be -24 as our audio loudness level. And it appears that the original file was a lot louder. Okay, well, we've stripped out silences. We've stripped out all the front and back silences. I think we can call this good. So, let's see, cat flex.log. And we can see that our flex2 files were downloaded as well. And again, we'd go through the whole same thing of scheduling it. So instead of audio/download news.sh, we would change that to download news2.sh, or add it in there as another option, which I think I'm going to do just for fun. We'll have that one download at 46. How's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Home audio news2.sh. All right. Now we can just wait for Flex to download at 45 and 46. Now, I'm not going to make you guys wait again. I think we've done enough waiting on this file, but you get the idea. You get to see how you can take hardware that you already have on hand and repurpose it, give it new life by downloading Linux, in this case, Ubuntu Linux, and just doing the server version. There's no GUI, there's no extra stuff that's running around. You could even get the minimized server version. You just have to install a couple of extra programs, such as like Vim for audio or text editing. You'll still have to download FFmpeg, things like that. But so if you have an older machine, yeah. And it might take a little bit longer for it to run the FFmpeg. But again, depends on how long of files you're doing. All right, that's about it. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for being a part of this video. If you have questions, put them down below. I am not a Linux expert, but I am on this journey with you. And again, seeing how we do so many things at work with FFmpeg and with Linux and with all these other tools that are available, I kind of was like, my eyes were opened to the world of Linux. And I knew that this would be a good way to kind of help some people who are in radio to have a very quick way of getting some things done and maybe even repurposing some old hardware. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this video. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, keep learning, because I am, and I realize I have a lot more to learn still with this too. But all right, until next time, bye.